You're listening to the Fan Club Podcast, where two polar opposites discover each other's fandoms for the very first time. Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 11 of the Fan Club Podcast. My name is Sarah.
This is Matthew.
Today we are covering Avengers Age of Ultron, and it was released in 2015 and directed by Joss Whedon, as it was with the first Avengers movie.
It's the last one that he directs. He doesn't direct any others.
Yeah.
Most of them will be Kevin Feige or the Russo brothers.
So, out of all of the Avengers and either Avengers total movies or the individual movies, Age of Ultron was one of the ones that I had heard the absolute least about. And so I went in with zero expectations.
Yeah.
Which, frankly, I think was a good thing. I think ultimately was the reason why I liked it more than some.
Yeah.
Because I took the advice of Louis of Earth 894 and didn't watch the trailer to begin with.
Yeah.
And frankly, I think that helped, and I think I'm going to stop watching the trailers because it sets expectations that I don't know if the film meets, good or bad. So I'm just not gonna watch the trailers from here on out.
Yeah, the trailers are, I like watching the trailers, but also the trailers were released when we didn't know anything about, Age of Ultron or Iron Man 3 or any of them.
Well,
was the only way to learn about the movie.
I could see back in the day, and I say back in the day loosely because it wasn't that long ago, but when these films were coming out, I could see the trailers being because I remember when the Half-Blood Prince trailer came out and we were dissecting it frame by frame, and I can see that.
Shoot, people did that, and people still do that for the MCU movies.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure they do.
There's so many YouTube videos of.
It's just watching the films,
ones.
Not only watching the films this far after the fact, but watching them in this quick succession, I just don't think that the trailers do me any favors.
No, it's I was having you watch the trailers first just to get
an idea.
But going forward, kind of like you were saying, the trailers aren't really needed because the trailers were to introduce the new characters.
Yeah, but I also think that because I have vague knowledge of these people, I know some of these people existed. I knew Scarlet Witch was a thing. I knew I didn't know Quicksilver was in this movie, let alone related to Wanda. My point is I have some preconceived understanding of some of these people, so I don't necessarily think, for me personally, the trailers are that big of a deal.
Yeah.
What was your initial kind of feelings prior to revisiting this movie?
I've always seen this movie more as an exposition movie than an actual because there's not a whole lot of action.
There's a ton of action
closer to the end. Yeah,
but it's more introduction.
We learn about Wakanda. We learn about
it's
Hawkeye's wife.
It's introducing the puzzle pieces, but
for the next phase.
But the other films actually put them into place.
Yes, this is a great movie
to introduce all the players.
Yes, to introduce all of the future players like Black Panther, Wanda, Vision. This one I've always said is a better exposition than
I will say
Solo.
I'm nowhere near gonna try to say whether or not this movie is better than the first Avengers movie because I just think they're so different. They're such different movies.
Yes, so
I just find it hard to say I liked this one better than others. I did like this one. I liked this movie a lot, and I liked the first Avengers movie a lot, just in very different ways.
The first Avengers was a great end to the first era, to the first saga.
Yeah, it was a good...
It was a good ending point for that particular story.
And this is a good, like, jumping off point.
Like,
but I think that they did a really good job in this film, in Age of Ultron, to flesh out our existing characters.
Yeah.
Introduce new ones. And then also plant seeds of other stuff.
For future.
We actually, like, get to know, like, with Wanda being introduced and her powers, we get to see inside their brains.
And this is not even Wanda at her, like...
I am so freaking... I knew, based on the...
Like,
I knew
nothing with Wanda can do.
I knew based on the reception, the general reception to Wanda in the last year or so, since her show was released, that I knew once I got into this stuff, Wanda would be by and large my favorite. I knew she would. But I am so excited.
Her story gets really, because you see her at her lowest points and her highest points in the next few movies that she's in. You see her crash and burn. And then come back up.
I know I harp on about it a lot, but I was just so excited to get into badass woman.
Yeah.
In this, and like
Trust me, there's going to be more. There will be more.
I was just really excited to see a woman that is vulnerable but also really strong and has character development within her own story as a piece of the whole.
I mean, in the movie, she was only in it for about 21 minutes.
Yeah.
And we learned probably more.
We can get into it when we get into it, but I love Black Widow, but like she's so mysterious that you don't really know much about her.
Just don't make Wanda mad.
You want to get into the movie?
Yeah.
So there's this opening sequence where they're in Sokovia, which I kept thinking Matthew was saying Slovakia wrong.
Just because I mispronounced some words does not mean I mispronounced.
For some reason, I just kept hearing Slovakia, but said wrong.
I think it's supposed to be based off of there.
I could not wrap my brain around the fact that it was Sokovia. I don't know why.
It's supposed to be, I think, based off
Apparently,
of
it was shot in Italy, scroll down a little bit. It was Fort Baird in Aosta Valley, Italy, which is bordering France and Switzerland, with Cyrillic lettering, which is like the Eastern European lettering covering local storefronts.
Did not know that.
I thought that detail was really
cool.
There's a lot of shots of this castle, for lack of a better word, up on this mountain. If you know, you know. And I kept thinking, my parents lived in Germany for about a year.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking of a lot of the photos that they would take of their various things, and I kept thinking about like where that was, and you know what the history of, I don't know, I'm a history nerd.
Yeah, you are.
But I just thought, I don't know, this sequence has this slow-mo shot of all of the Avengers
going through the forest. So do you know why they're in Sokovia?
Because they're trying to get the scepter, right?
Yes. So they were trying to take out all the Hydra bases around the world.
Yeah.
They were trying to...
It's something to do with S.H.I.E.L.D. too, that S.H.I.E.L.D., like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. explains it. The show, right?
Kind of. So, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1 ended right after Winter Soldier. So Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1 took place, so there was an episode that took place right after Thor Dark World, where they're in London and they are cleaning up and learning from the events of what happened. And then same thing with Civil War. Or not Civil War, Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
With S.H.I.E.L.D. going away, all the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents technically go into hiding along with them.
So this sequence has, in the first Avengers movie, I'm sure everybody knows what I'm talking about, and I talked about it in the Avengers episode, but there's that shot of, like, everybody...
The spinning?
Yeah, like the tracking shots of, like, all the individual people doing their thing.
Yeah.
And there's one of those in this. And I feel like it kind of
so much,
is like a callback.
It's not so much of a tracking. It's like them all going through the tree slow-mo.
No, that's not the shot I'm talking about. Right before that, there is a shot of kind of the camera moves through everybody.
Oh, true.
And everybody is doing their own thing. And then there's that big shot.
Yeah. You're right.
We also get Tony swearing and Captain America just going, language, because he's like 80.
And they just roast him for the rest of the movie. And everyone roasts.
I did appreciate the running jokes in this movie, because I feel like without them, this movie could come off as very serious.
Yeah.
It was needed.
But it was also supposed to be a serious movie, because the events of this lead up for Civil War.
But I also don't think that because a lot of the times the serious tone mixed with some of those jokes can feel like disjointed.
Yeah.
And I don't think that this was one of those instances.
No, like...
It felt natural for the characters.
Yes.
I did really love the shot of, Steve, like, he's riding his motorcycle, and then he just flings his motorcycle at the Hydra guys.
It's at the vehicle. It's at the It's at the truck.
But it's such a cool shot.
Mm-hmm. I wonder how many motorcycles he has gone through.
Probably a lot.
Like, just...
Tony could probably whip one up pretty quickly.
True. I mean, he did fix the tractor.
Yeah. There's a really sweet interaction between Bruce and Natasha, and where it's like the lullaby.
It's called the lullaby.
Yeah.
Where it helps it lowers Hulk's blood pressure, kind of like what we were talking about in The Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
Where if his blood pressure gets too high,
I just thought it was really...
It helps calm him down.
I thought it was very sweet, and there's an underlying tone of romance between these two, which, I'm not gonna lie, felt slightly random.
No, because they're the most unique, because they're both essentially...
No, I know. We just don't get much just them scenes.
Yeah.
And so it felt a little bit... I don't doubt that they care for each other and love each other and all that stuff. We just don't see it very often.
It's
much more subtext than... There is a little bit in this one, but, like, before this point, there's just not a whole lot.
Yeah.
Like, they obviously care for each other. Everybody cares for each other.
Yeah.
And then we get introduced to Wanda and Pietro Maximoff. Am I saying that right, Pietro?
Yeah.
Okay. My literal only criticism of Elizabeth Olsen is that her accent is incredibly inconsistent. Sometimes it's, like, very overtly Russian. Sometimes it sounds American.
Slowly starts to go away.
Because sometimes it sounds, like, super Russian. Sometimes it sounds... I know they're not in Russia, but go with me here.
Yeah.
Sometimes it sounds super Russian. Sometimes it sounds completely American. Sometimes it sounds British at points. And it's, like... once you notice it, it's hard to not notice it.
Her accent in the later movies slowly goes away.
Because I noticed in clips of WandaVision, she has no accent at all.
No.
If not like a 50s affectation.
It goes away.
Because it was a little distracting.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was that Elizabeth Olsen was really inconsistent about it, or it was like a character choice. It felt really weird because it was like, they're clearly in Eastern Europe. These characters have grown up in Eastern Europe, so you would think that they would have an accent. But it just, like, and Quicksilver's was pretty inconsistent as well, but less noticeable.
Yeah.
But I like I said before, I'm really excited to get more Wanda.
Yeah. So the only reason why Quicksilver took the role was because he's also really good friends with Elizabeth Olsen. Mm-hmm. Because they did a film Godzilla right before Age of Ultron.
I'm sure this is common knowledge, but Elizabeth Olsen is the younger sister of Mary-Kate and Ashley.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's pretty common knowledge.
Yes.
But I just think that that's a really fun little...
Yeah.
Just because Mary-Kate and Ashley, especially if you were a child of the 90s or had kids in the 90s, they were everywhere. Like, everywhere. You could not escape them. Wanda has these powers where she can alter She can basically
alter
plant...
reality.
Yeah, alter reality. She can plant little...
She can mess
plant
with your mind. She brings out the fears in you. It's more...
Here's me referencing Harry Potter in a way that makes sense to me. But it reminds me of how the Horcrux has a negative effect on the characters.
Not...
Like, okay, you know how, like, in Deathly Hallows, when they open the locket and it, like, really harps on Ron's, like, biggest fears?
But that makes them more angry. I would say... closer to, like, Scarecrow's gas in DC.
I don't know what that means.
Like fear toxin.
Yeah.
Where it just pulls out your fears and, like, your crippling anxieties and things like that. Not so much...
Well, because, so, from the way that it's described in the book, when Ron wears the locket all day...
Yeah.
He is more negatively affected than the other two because it plays on his deepest, darkest secrets and his deepest, darkest anxieties. And that's what kind of reminded me of a little bit.
Okay, I can see that. I can see that. But Tony's hallucination...
It comes to Tony, and she basically... makes him have a hallucination that all of the Avengers are dead.
Yeah, and he blames himself. And he sees a wormhole opening into Earth.
Which I think plays into his PTSD.
Yeah.
We really went deep into all of that in Iron Man 3, so if you want to hear more what our thoughts are about his mental state post-Avengers, then go listen to that episode.
So they were... Because the base that they went to... the Sokovian base, that's where Wanda and Pietro were mutated. Mm-hmm. Which is why they were there.
Yeah, because originally they are Magneto's children, right?
Yes, in the comics they are Magneto's kids. So technically they're mutants.
When it comes to the ownership and filming rights and stuff like that, they had to change that stuff.
There's been multiple different arcs. The arc that they went more off of was called Marvel Ultimate Comics, where he and his sister were abandoned as kids. Mm-hmm. And had to fend for themselves. Is more of kind of like what they were going off of. Not so much of Magneto's kids. Because they talk more about that in X-Men, the newer X-Men.
Yeah.
They talk because Quicksilver's a big character in that
I've heard people reference Quicksilver. Also, isn't Quicksilver like a skater brand as well?
No, maybe. I don't know.
I've
been out of that field for a long time. So I don't know. Maybe.
We got our first view of the updated Avengers Tower.
Mm-hmm. With the updated A, because as we saw, it got partially destroyed on the attack of New York.
Tony's got to have some, like, crazy insurance. Like, all of his properties keep getting destroyed.
So, he has a relief called the Avengers Relief. Or it's Iron Man Relief or Tony Stark Relief or something. So, whenever the Avengers are fighting in, like, a town or something, he will pull money out of there to try to pay to get everything fixed. Because he feels responsible if a town gets partially destroyed. Which the relief started with Battle of New York. Mm-hmm. Because there really hasn't been any other fights, like in Iron Man 1, 2, or 3, of cities being destroyed.
No, I'm just saying, like, his LA house got destroyed. The original Avengers Tower...
His LA house disappeared.
Stark Industries got destroyed, or the Stark Tower got destroyed.
No, Stark Tower turned into the Avengers Tower.
No, I know, but it, like, got messed up.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, he must have insane insurance.
I doubt anyone will give him insurance, honestly. With the amount of claims...
He has bad track record.
With the amount of claims you would have to do. It would be like, sir, you just buy us. Then we'll fix it for free. Just buy the company.
So there's a point where the Iron Fleet comes back. He basically calls the Iron Fleet back from Sokovia. And this poses... So, when we were talking about Iron Man 3, Megan and I, Matthew's sister, who was on that episode, we were joking about how, like, you're just walking down the street and you see this, like, metal suit flying through the sky. Like, is that what happened? Like, they flew all the way from Sokovia?
Yes.
'Cause, like...
But you also saw how long it took them to come back.
I know. It's just, I don't know. I just find that really funny. I just have, like, mental images in my head of just people just doing their everyday lives, and
Iron Suit just goes flying by.
I just think that that's really funny.
Yeah.
So there's a scene where Bruce and Tony are in the lab, and they're talking about AI, and...
Yeah.
So Tony has this plan of...
putting a shield around the world.
I was talking more about Ultron, but okay.
No, so that is the shield around the world. Project Ultron.
But he doesn't want to tell everybody else, and Bruce thinks it's a bad idea, and, like...
And Bruce still goes along with it.
But he basically leaves Jarvis and Ultron...
So they work on it for 3 days.
Yeah.
And every attempt is a fail. Miraculously comes up as a success when no one is in there.
So they're having this big party for... Is it 4th?
I think it's like going away and for finding the last base of Hydra. And
I do think it's funny. I didn't make a note of this, but there's a whole scene where Natasha is like just flirting back and forth with. I think, is it Bruce? Yeah.
But Ultron pretty much destroys Jarvis.
Yeah, and they think it's rage.
Technically, it is a fan theory. The reason why Ultron wanted to make the Avengers extinct was when he looked up Tony Stark. Is when he got the idea, because he saw how much pain Stark Industries caused for a lot of people in the world. So that's why he wanted to end the Avengers, was because of Tony selling weapons, guns, nukes, etc.
Well, we kind of get into this a little bit with Wanda's backstory.
Yeah. So...
it's... This scene is kind of cut between scenes of them just, like, living it up at this party. Which was nice. And there's this whole long sequence of everybody drunk trying to lift up this hammer, which I thought was really funny.
Yeah, so...
And it slightly moved when Cap did it.
Yeah. So everyone was trying, because no one believes that only the worthy can lift Mjolnir.
I kept seeing reference to Tony's theory of Thor's fingerprint. What does that mean?
So...
Was I not supposed to see that?
What do you mean? No.
Was that a spoiler?
No, not at all.
Okay. I try not to read too deeply into these facts because I worry that I'm going to get spoiled.
Tony doesn't believe that you have to be worthy to lift Mjolnir. Or should we just say Mew Mew?
I can't say it. Mjolnir?
Mjolnir. Yes.
Mjolnir.
Yes.
I'm just going to say Mew Mew.
You sound like a toddler when you say it.
Mjolnir.
Whatever. It doesn't sound like a real word after a while.
It's not.
It is a real word.
It's not... Whatever.
All words are made up words. Tell me I'm wrong.
This is true.
No, so Tony doesn't believe that you have to be worthy to pick up Mjolnir. That anyone can do it.
This is the one word you can say and I can't.
Yes. So, Tony's trying, then he gets the Iron Man glove. He tries again, fails. He gets Rhodey to help him. Rhodey and him bicker.
I do love where he's like, 1 second, and then it cuts to him having his Iron Man hand.
And then, let me try again. And then he grabs Rhodey. And then Rhodey and him are yelling at each other, "Are you even trying to lift?"
Yeah. We also get our Stan Lee cameo in this.
Yeah. Where he plays a...
Army guy.
He plays a military vet. They don't say...
It was like D-Day. He referenced D-Day.
Yeah, he was on D-Day. And so...
And, like, he really wants to try Thor's Asgardian cocktail or whatever.
That brewed for 1,000 years.
And he, like, gets super messed up. He's like, Excelsior!
Yeah. Excelsior!
Apparently it has some significance to the comics.
No, anytime he ever did a podcast or an interview or anything, he always said that at the end. That was his
sign off.
Yeah. Especially because
wasn't Excelsior the name of the sword in King Arthur's sword?
That's Excalibur.
Oh, I was gonna say it's kind of
that's Excalibur.
It's kind of Sword in the Stony.
No, so he would always say that Stanley had a TV show, probably about a decade and a half ago, of finding real life superheroes.
That's cool.
Where it was like people that could eat glass, or didn't feel pain, or could like electrocute themselves without.
In case anybody needed this,
don't do that at home.
Don't do that. Is this like a readily available thing to watch?
Yes.
Where is it?
Can't
imagine it wouldn't be on Disney Plus.
It wasn't Disney. It was. I think it was on Fox.
Editing Sarah here. If you're curious, Stan Lee's Real Superhuman show was originally a History Channel show and is now available to stream on Amazon Video or Vudu, if you're curious. Well, anyway, getting back into it.
But he always said Excalibur or Excelsior at the end of it, because Excelsior sounds like something a superhero would say.
So there's a shot of so basically the Ultron goes into one of the Iron Fleet guys.
Yeah.
And
because there's one that got completely melted from being acid thrown on them.
When he's waking up, he references Pinocchio.
He references Pinocchio a lot.
He says, I've got no strings to hold me down.
And he just sings it a lot.
And there's a point I can't remember where it is, but there's a point in which there's a little interstitial jingle, like, or instrumental, that is from Pinocchio.
Yeah.
And if you're not, like, up on your Disney history, you might not know it, but, like, that is a Pinocchio reference. I find that movie creepy and weird and kind of
but think about
disturbing.
It. Ultron is very similar to Pinocchio.
No. I get the parallels. Like, I just think it's freaking weird.
Yeah, it is weird, but Ultron is technically the evil version of Pinocchio. They both want it to be real.
No. I fully understand the parallels.
Yeah, it's just...
And he talks about, like, he doesn't want to be Tony's puppet. Yeah. And, like, I fully get that. I just think it was a very strange... Parallel.
But it makes sense,
It does make sense. I just don't know why we need to, in your face, do a Pinocchio reference. Like, he could have just said, I don't want to be Tony's puppet, and leave it at that.
But in his mind, he still thinks Tony owns him. For a good chunk of it, because technically Tony made Ultron from the...
I just thought it was an odd choice to have him sing the Pinocchio.
Yeah, it is lyric. An odd choice, but it does work for Ultron.
I do really like, however, and I feel like I'm just going to counteract myself when I say this, but I do, however, like that because Ultron, and Jarvis to a degree...
Yeah.
Is kind of an extension of Tony.
Yes.
In a way that, like, they know everything that Tony knows, because obviously he programmed them.
Yeah.
And Tony is apt to reference random things, or to sing a random jingle. Not that he does, but he would.
Yeah, so...
And so, I do think that Ultron doing this would not be far off from... Yeah. Like, Tony would make a Pinocchio reference.
But that's the thing. Ultron's AI.
So when Ultron is waking up and he is literally like under his breath going, I've got no strings to pull me down, very like monotone. I was like, what? Like, I was like, did this robot just recite Pinocchio lyrics to me?
Yeah, and then he slowly is walking out while leaking oil and all of that.
It was...
Right after...
It was especially after this pretty comedic scene, it was a little off-putting to have this robot ominously saying Pinocchio lyrics.
And talking to them because they think that it's just effective and Jarvis isn't answering.
Yeah, and like...
Which was a sad scene when Jarvis died. That was a sad scene because you saw him... You saw like, Ultron attack.
Jarvis is... While not seen physically until this film, he is a staple.
Tony essentially lost another parent at that time.
But he also
lost another friend at that time.
Like, Tony, it's his buddy, you know?
Yeah,
like, he's in his suit. He built Jarvis from the ground up.
Yeah, he designed Jarvis's AI to control everything in his house.
And it's like, it's not just like an Alexa or a Siri. It's like, it's so much more than that.
Yeah.
Sorry if I just activated your Alexa. I apologize. I used to hate that when we had our Alexa in our old apartment.
Yeah.
And I used to hate when, like, movies or TV shows or, like, podcasts or whatever would accidentally activate it. It was the worst. So, there's a whole battle sequence where Ultron is...
in the Iron Fleet.
Just kind of messes everything up. Like, they're having a grand old time, and they just have to...
Yeah.
Go to Wanda.
Yeah.
And Pietro.
Yeah, Pietro.
Sorry, I keep saying that in a French accent. I don't know how to do any other accent than French.
Just say Peter.
Quicksilver.
Just say Peter. Please.
And we learn that... Well, we don't actually learn this. You told me this. That the bomb that killed Wanda and Pietro's parents was a Stark bomb.
Yes.
But you said that... So, if you remember in Iron Man 1...
Obadiah was selling to both sides, and it was a civil war.
To blame Tony.
So if anything happened, Tony would take the blame. But that's more of a fan theory.
Yeah, this is Matthew's fan theory that this bomb was not Tony's doing, that this was Obadiah's doing.
Yeah, because Obadiah would sell weapons to the other side, which is the reason why Tony had the arc reactor in him.
Anybody that has more information about this, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
So, like...
Please message us on our Reddit or Instagram or wherever.
Yeah. We'd love to discuss this aspect with you. I don't know if... Is this your brain thing, or is this like a thing you read?
I think I've read it, but this was years ago. But it would make sense, because also Obadiah was more in charge of the weapons part than Tony was. Tony was the face of it. Of the company anyway.
Yeah.
Where Obadiah would sell everything.
Wanda seems to think that her parents are dead because of Tony.
Technically, yes. But also,
if we're looking at it, if we're looking at the timeline,
it was 10 years ago.
So Tony was still in charge.
Yeah, at that time, yes, because
unless Obadiah's plan was much.
Obadiah always wanted to get rid of Tony.
But unless his plan to sell him out was going on a lot longer.
Oh, it was, because Obadiah was in charge when Tony was in college.
At this point, I was thinking Wanda was a villain. I'm glad that she's not.
At this point, she was. Because
I was very confused at this point because
she just wanted to kill Tony Stark. That was her goal, was just to hurt Tony.
To avenge. I guess she was her own Avenger.
Sure.
So there's this scene where they figure out that somebody is stealing vibranium.
Yes, so,
And so they figure out that this person has this brand on their neck. So,
yes. So
which is Andy Serkis.
Yeah, so they're trying to figure out where Ultron would go.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of rumors where Ultron has been on the coast of Africa.
So what's really interesting about this is that, so there's a scene where Bruce is trying to do research on this brand, trying to figure out who this person is.
Yeah.
And basically in his research, he finds what essentially is a Wikipedia article on Wakanda.
Yeah.
But the title isn't like Wakanda. The title of it is like, it's like thief-data in parentheses A113. And if you are not up on your Disney history, A113 is a famous Easter egg included in every Pixar movie. It is the classroom that a lot of the Disney animators met in, or Pixar animators rather.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was a really interesting Easter egg.
So
I know we have a couple of people, shout out to Team Unicorn. I know that they're big, like, Disney historian fans. So, like, I just think that that's a really fun, little thing.
Yeah, so the reason why they figured out that it was Ulysses Klaus, the character
Andy Serkis is the guy who does all the motion capture for, like...
He was Caesar in Planet of the Apes in the new one.
Yeah,
He's Gollum in Lord of the Rings.
But yeah, he is, like... I guarantee you've seen something that Andy Serkis has done. He has been in so much stuff, and he's mainly known for, like, motion capture.
So...
And then this is where she inflicts all of the memories. And we basically see, like, Captain America, like, with Steve, with Peggy.
And...
we see Natasha at ballet school.
At the
academy, rather.
The academy.
And we see... Honestly, I was really happy to see Peggy. I thought that was really sweet that she was there.
But yeah, so we learn more about their fears. So Black Widow is afraid of going back to the academy. Steve Rogers is afraid of losing Peggy again and the war ending. Because his entire life, there is a line where he said, like, can I live without conflict or something like that? Because, I mean, think about it. From when he was 18, he wanted to be in the war.
He got frozen mid-World War II, and now he's fighting aliens.
Yes, so every moment of his adult life has been in a war of some kind. He was always bullied as a kid, so he was always having to defend himself. Things like that. So he's always been in conflict, just in slightly different ways.
I did really love that little touch of, like, the 40s music and the styling and the dancing, and that was fun.
Because that was supposed to be when the war was over.
Yeah, they're, like, celebrating.
Thor's is everyone dying that he knows and loves.
Yeah.
Going to Valhalla. Which is where Norse gods go and Norse warriors go when they die in battle.
Mm-hmm.
They're carried off by a chariot being led by the Valkyries. Tony sees Ultron. Tony and Ultron are fighting through the city of some city in Africa. I don't remember which one.
Editing Sarah here. The Hulkbuster scene takes place in Johannesburg, South Africa. Or Johannesburg. I've heard it pronounced both ways. But South Africa.
Hulk also, because Hulk's just waiting in the Quinjet. Quicksilver and Wanda see him. He turns into the Hulk, runs at them. WandaVision messes with Hulk's brain. Hulk goes on a rampage.
And we meet Veronica.
Yes. Which is the Hulkbuster. Do you want to guess how many repulsors are on the Hulkbuster?
Wasn't it like 11?
There's 9.
I read it somewhere.
Yeah, there's 9.
You don't need to, there's one on each knee.
Or not repulsor, arc reactors.
Yeah.
There's 9 arc reactors.
There's, one on each knee, one on each calf. There's, a bunch.
There's 3 in front, 6 in back. It takes 6 reactors to power the Hulkbuster, when it takes 1 to do his normal suit.
Yeah.
And the Hulkbuster is probably one of my favorite suits of his. For right now.
I do love the scene following this battle that they're all on is it the Quinjet?
Yeah.
They're all on the Quinjet and, everybody's just kind of, messed up.
I mean, they lived their worst nightmares.
Just, everybody is, not talking to each other, staring at the walls.
But then Hawkeye was funny. Because Hawkeye heard Wanda walk up, and he just electrocuted her head.
Yeah.
No, I already been mind-controlled once. Not fun. And then Quicksilver rushes her out, and then she wants to wake up the big guy.
Mm-hmm.
But just that fight between Hulk and Iron Man is really well done. With him, just trying to stop the Hulk. He's just punching Hulk in the face. Just go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. Please go to sleep. Just over and over and over. When he grabs Hulk's arm and, wraps his gauntlet around Hulk's fist. And whenever a piece of Hulkbuster breaks, he can get another piece for it, as we saw with the hand.
Mm-hmm.
When Hulk completely, threw the metal pole through the shoulder.
And then they basically escape to Hawkeye's house.
This is a SHIELD safe house.
Yeah.
But only Nick Fury knows about.
They know nothing about Hawkeye up until this point. He makes some reference about, like...
a girlfriend.
The doctor is like, your girlfriend won't be able to know the difference. He's like, I don't have a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Which is true. And his wife is played by Linda Cardellini, a.k.a. Velma, from the Scooby-Doo movies that I think are terrible and Matthew thinks are awesome.
I mean, they are done by...
James Gunn.
Yes.
And he's a weirdo.
Yes, he is.
Those movies, for some reason, I never liked them as a kid, but for some reason have such an impact on me as a preteen.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know why. I could not explain to you.
We learn a lot about Hawkeye. Like, why he does what he does is to protect his family. Like, they kept this... He was able to convince Nick Fury, which was his only caveat.
His wife must never freaking see him.
Probably not. I mean...
she must get so freaking annoyed by that.
I mean, they also live in the middle of nowhere.
I know.
Like,
it's just...
he was able to convince Nick Fury, the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., like, if you want me to join S.H.I.E.L.D., you have to protect my family. And Nick Fury said yes. Nick Fury's not a guy that will bend to someone else's will.
There are some, like, pretty comedic lines in this scene,
yeah.
though, when he's getting introduced to the crew,
yeah.
And what does Tony say?
She is a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent.
Then the kids run down the stairs.
Those are smaller agents. Because no one knew that Hawkeye even was dating anyone, let alone married.
He's so mysterious.
Because he
I will say, I like Hawkeye so much more than I used to.
He doesn't trust people.
I still think he's useless in battle.
That is true.
But
which he's even
I like him as a person.
He's even referenced, like, I only have, like, 23 arrows. Like, he's even talked about having, like, no arrows. But he is skilled with hand-to-hand. He can fire any weapon, kind of like what we saw in Avengers. He fires a weapon the exact same that he fires his bow. We
do learn some stuff about Natasha, but I'm not gonna harp on about it because it's pretty dark for this podcast.
We start seeing the tension get created between Tony and Captain and Steve. They
already had some beef though.
But because Steve blames Tony for Ultron. He blames Tony for creating Ultron, while Tony has seen what is out there. Captain America has not. Tony was on the other side of space for a couple minutes in the first Avengers, so he knows what's out there. No one else does. He just wants to protect the world.
Yeah.
He just wants to protect his loved one. He wants to protect Pepper. I forgot her name.
Yeah, because she's so freaking useless.
Yeah. No, he just wants to protect the people that he loves and cares about. Is his ultimate goal. He will sacrifice himself to protect the ones that he loves. As we saw in Iron Man 3. He literally put a suit on Pepper to protect her.
Because she's useless. I'm sorry, she's not even in this movie.
No,
and I still hate her.
Tony just wants to protect the people that he loves. At the end of the day, Tony will do anything for the ones that he cares about. He would do anything for any of the Avengers, any day of the week. But...
so then we go to... There's a scene where, Thor goes to get Selvig.
Yes. To go to...
What's that pool called?
The Pool of Truth.
And he has
something like that.
First of all, Chris Hemsworth. Chris Hemsworth? I don't know why I get him and his brother mixed up. Chris.
Yes.
Chris Hemsworth is freaking jacked.
Yes.
And it's like, I don't know why I've never really thought about it until this scene specifically.
But, so, the reason why, it's a mythology thing to Norse mythology, where the only pool of truth, or the cistern of truth or something like that, was thought to only be in Asgard. because that's where the Karn sisters are, which are like the three eyes of fate in Hercules.
Okay.
Where they see the past, present, and future. But they're the only ones... What?
Nothing.
You know who I'm talking about in
yes.
Hercules. They're the same.
So, basically, he has this, like, vision, and I didn't notice this until Matthew pointed it out to me, but, like...
First time we see the Infinity Gauntlet.
I just thought it was a yellow blob that the stones were... It makes way more sense to me now that he explained it, but, like, I just thought it was a yellow blob.
You only see it for a couple seconds, but...
We've established I'm not the most observant human being.
This is the first time we see the Infinity Gauntlet. But the gems are also where they are on the gauntlet, where we see. Do you know what are the 4 gems we've seen so far? And do you remember what they do?
The Tesseract is the Time Stone.
No.
Never mind.
The Tesseract is the Space Stone.
Okay. The Ether is the Power Stone.
No. Reality. The purple one is the power.
And then the one from Guardians is the Power Stone. And then this
Which
one...
we haven't seen the newest one yet.
And then we haven't gotten to it yet, but this movie introduces the Mind Stone.
Which makes a lot more sense now, right? Why Loki was able to control people's minds with this, with the thing, with this specter, with the spear, essentially.
The orb. Or the
spear.
The scepter.
The scepter. Why he was able to control people's minds with the scepter was because the Mind Stone was in it, which is weird that Thanos gave it to him. Which is a little weird because Thanos would have already had one, but he lost it because Loki was also useless in the first couple movies.
So I have a note here.
Loki is the best.
I have a note here that says, "Is Wanda an official Avenger now?" Which she's pretty much established as an official Avenger in the end of this movie.
So Vision is being made at this point. Vision is being created with the vibranium that Ultron stole.
Full disclosure: when we first started this project, I was calling Wanda WandaVision because that's all, like, I knew of her.
Yeah.
Not realizing they were 2 separate people.
Yeah. So, Wanda, because Vision is part human and part vibranium and robot. She can see into Vision's mind. And she sees what Ultron wants to do. Because Ultron is connected to Vision. By the data link.
Mm-hmm.
Because their plan was for Ultron to be in Vision. I
do like, in this movie, there are a couple of... Obviously, I know that, like, they're married in WandaVision.
Yeah.
I like how there's a couple of things in this movie that kind of, like, plant seeds to them, like, possibly having a thing later.
Yeah.
Which I think was really sweet.
But I like Vision because he
reminds me of, like, old school stereotypical superheroes a little bit.
Yeah.
With the cape and the tight clothes and his demeanor and like the stereotype of, like, if you watch, like, The Incredibles or something like that, where they, like, kind of play into the tropes of superheroes.
Yeah. So shortly after that, Ultron was trying to get the nuke codes, but they were changing nonstop. He
basically, in so many words, attacked Jarvis. And they thought they quote unquote killed him.
Out of rage.
Yeah.
But they realized out of fear because Ultron knew that Jarvis could stop him.
So basically they have to get this. At the beginning of the movie, Hawkeye gets attacked and they do this, like, skin grafting, for lack of a better phrasing.
Yeah. With nanotech.
And so it's essentially like a futuristic version of skin grafting.
Yeah.
And so they use this technology in what they refer to as the cradle.
Yeah, to create Vision mixed with vibranium.
And
which is why Scarlet Witch could read his thoughts.
And they use the Mind Stone is, like, they put the Mind Stone on him.
In his forehead.
Yeah.
In the forehead.
Which leads me to wonder, so, I say nothing, don't spoil me. I'm just thinking out loud here. So Thanos wants to get all the Infinity Stones.
Yes.
So is he going to have to, like, for lack of a better word, decommission Vision in order to get the Mind Stone?
I'm not answering.
Okay. That's what I said.
You'll learn.
Don't spoil me.
You'll learn about that.
I just wonder how that... Can he operate without it, is my point.
No. Not at all. We learned about that in Infinity War.
When does he become more humanoid as opposed to more robotic? You don't have to answer me.
He slowly.
Okay. There's not like an exact moment.
No. It's not like an exact moment where Wanda realizes, oh, Ultron is evil. Mm-hmm. I'm switching. There's not a moment like
it's just kind of like
a slow burn.
Yeah.
Because
it's like pieces falling into place.
We see them again in Civil War, and we don't see either of them again until Infinity War. So it's a slow, because Ultron or Vision is also connected to the internet. So he's slowly learning. Kind of, Hulk is talking about, has anyone heard from Cho? Helen Cho, which is the doctor. The doctor who owns the Cradle. They realize that Ultron is there because there's been reports.
They need to go to Seoul, Korea, or South Korea. I keep calling it North Korea. North Korea is
very different. No, there's been reports of a robotic man walking around. Mm-hmm. Or reports of robotic people. And so they realize Ultron is there. They fight. They're trying to get Vision from Thanos. Or from Ultron. That whole battle sequence goes. Which, that's a pretty cool battle sequence.
I do really love the... there's a point where Captain America
drops his
shield, and Tasha's like, I keep having to pick up after you boys.
Yeah, where
she like comes flying in on her motorcycle and just like scoops it up.
And then throws it back to Cap while Hawkeye is the eye in the sky for them.
Yeah.
And so, two of the Ultrons make the vehicle fly because the train's right there.
Which I did really like that we get to see in these movies. We get to see a variety of cities. It's not just New York. Mm-hmm. It's, we've seen, we've seen Sokovia. We've seen Eastern Europe, essentially.
Yeah.
We've seen New York. We've seen Johannesburg.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen Seoul.
Yeah.
And Seoul is, like, such a massive, like,
Metroplex.
Metroplex.
Which I know your dad loves that word.
My dad will never listen to this.
Yeah.
But, like...
No, it's just a really interesting fight because Black Widow also gets kidnapped. Or adult-napped? Adult-napped would be the key word.
I think it's kidnapped across the board. It shouldn't be when it's not in reference to kids.
Yeah. She was adult-napped. Because I feel a little bit better saying that than kidnapped. But we see them we see Hawkeye freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
That she's gone missing. And no one knows where she is. And they can't look on the internet because that will alert Ultron.
Yeah.
So they have to go old school ways. Like with Morse code and different things like that.
Yeah, so you see there's a shot of
Black Widow
trying to, like, key into this radio, trying to send Hawkeye a message via Morse code.
Which Hawkeye learns. But shortly after that is when Tony is finding a new AI. Because Vision has been made.
And he's shuffling through these data cards, and
there's a lot of different references in this scene.
There's one that says Tadashi.
Which...
If you've never seen Big Hero 6, you won't get this, but Tadashi is the character...
That creates Baymax.
He's the main character's older brother. Uh-huh. And he basically creates Baymax, who is this, like, big... Like...
fluffy
He's
Vision.
essentially a balloon.
He's a balloon Vision.
Yeah. And he and Tadashi is, like, responsible for this creature. But Big Hero 6 has been likened to the Avengers a lot.
Big Hero 6 is a Marvel movie.
Well, it was based off a graphic novel.
Made by Marvel.
Or a comic.
Yeah, comic.
No,
it might have been a graphic novel.
I think it's a graphic novel.
Yeah, but it's made by Marvel.
That movie is fantastic. If you haven't seen it and you are a big, like, I'm assuming you're a big fan of Marvel if you're listening to this, but if you haven't seen Big Hero 6 and you're a big fan of Marvel, you need to watch Big Hero 6. It's amazing.
The other reference is Friday. Jocasta is the other data chip.
But he puts in Friday,
yeah,
who is
which
voiced,
we will see more of in Spider-Man.
She's voiced by Paul Bettany's wife.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a fun connection.
Mm-hmm. But she will be more in the Spider-Mans instead of being with Tony.
I've seen a couple of things written that Peter Parker has an AI, which I'm, like, a little confused about because his suit is like fabric, essentially.
We will see it more in Far From Home.
I'm excited to see the Spider-Mans. I'm excited to see what they do with it. It's relatively really familiar with the Tobey Maguire ones, okay. But so I don't know anything apart from that.
Yeah, so we go back to Sokovia.
I thought this battle sequence was so cool. Mm-hmm. Especially the sequence where because essentially he wants to he made some reference earlier in the movie about wanting to create an asteroid or a meteor.
Yeah, he wants to wipe humans off of the Earth because robots.
So he essentially has the same goal as Thanos. I know I'm not supposed to know that yet.
No, so Thanos doesn't want to wipe all humans.
Something about half. I don't know details.
Well, you'll learn about that. No, Ultron sees robots as the next evolutionary step. So all the vibranium that he stole, he created a quote-unquote jet engines with.
Onto the land.
Under the land.
Yeah.
Under.
But, like,
in, like, the caves.
Part of the city is literally breaking off and, like, kind of, essentially, like, the tectonic plate is...
It's not so much the tectonic plate because that's not big enough for...
No, but it's, like, the center of... Because the center of the town is this church.
Yes.
That his like, home base, his HQ...
Yeah.
Is, essentially.
No, his HQ... would be more of the castle.
No, I'm just talking about, like, he wants...
Because it's the center of the town.
Yeah.
So he can have the final fight in it.
Yeah. So the whole... There's multiple shots of this town lifting. And the special effects, I'm not sure entirely how they did this. I guarantee you it's all SFX.
Yes.
But there's multiple shots where you see the town lifting up into the sky, and you can see, like, the dirt and the rocks and the roots of the trees and people and
falling.
And it's so cool. It's so fantastically done. Mm-hmm. It looked, and I usually don't think that special effects look super real.
I'm just telling you this
but
now.
But this movie was so well done.
The special effects get so much better later on. Like, the special effects in Guardians 2 is really good. Doctor Strange is really good.
I just think that the special effects, this special effect specifically, looked so incredibly real. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I know it's not. They didn't just straight up lift an entire town.
Yeah.
Obviously.
But... we start seeing a lot more of Hawkeye's and Wanda's relationship grow.
I feel like he almost sees her as, like, a little sister or something.
That's how Black Widow and Captain America's is.
Yeah.
They're siblings. Because, Hawkeye was the only one that could stop her. Mm-hmm. Because Hawkeye's also trained, not so much of a trained assassin, but...
There's a line that he says, the city is flying, we're fighting robots, and I have a bow and arrow. Basically calling himself out for being useless.
Because this was when Wanda was freaking out over all the robots, because she blamed herself. He's like, I have a bow and arrow, city's flying, we're fighting robots.
Thank you for acknowledging
Like...
That... What? Clint?
Clint.
Thanks for acknowledging, Clint, that you're useless.
But he's saying, if I can do this with a bow and arrow, you can do this also.
I know, it's just funny to me that, like...
And then, so Wanda comes out and
they're lampshading that he's the weak link here.
Yeah. So Wanda comes out and not saves him, but protects him. Then Quicksilver comes running up, takes him, he's like, I'll see you later. And he's like, just one arrow. No one would know. I could just say Ultron killed him. And no one would ever know.
Mm-hmm.
But Hawkeye in this one has a lot more personality than the last one, but he also got the smallest amount of screen time in the last one. In the last Avengers movie.
Here's the thing. I liked his, like, backstory in this movie. I still don't love him in the fight scenes with everybody else. I just don't think he stacks up to everybody else.
Yeah.
I liked learning more about his life.
Yeah.
But I genuinely think he's the weak link. In battle, specifically.
Yeah. I mean, he does keep the team together.
Yeah. Okay. This scene also, this battle sequence has a ton of tracking shots that Joss Whedon has made pretty much standard. If you know what I'm talking about, like, you'll know what to look for.
Yeah. And then there's the Vision and Ultron fight. Where he's like, I'm just stalling.
Mm-hmm.
And he just gets blasted in the back. Vision completely blocks Ultron out of the internet from escaping.
Yeah.
Like, so Ultron's backup plan was done. Ultron was just going to escape through the internet and kill the body that he was in. Ultron couldn't escape.
Sorry, we're filming this, like, super late. So I apologize for the yawns.
This is probably one of the most intense fighting scenes because it was literally them against thousands upon thousands of robots.
Yeah.
And then here comes Nick Fury and an old helicarrier somehow.
It kind of gave me a little bit of, like, Titanic-y vibes. A little bit.
Yeah, I mean...
Where, like, because, like, they're in danger and they need to get everybody on lifeboats.
Yeah, but Tony was trying to find a way to lower the ground without killing everyone, and there was no way to do it.
Yeah.
Because it was going up about I read somewhere that it was like 5.4 meters a second was what it was raising.
It didn't, in some shots it didn't look like it was moving at all.
Yeah.
Like, if it was moving that fast, people, like, the wind would be moving through people's hair, it would be, like, hard.
5.4 meters is only about 15 feet a second.
There were a couple of shots that I did note that it didn't look like they were moving at all.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a little odd. Like,
so
it just felt really inconsistent in some points.
Yeah. So Quicksilver nor Scarlet Witch were called by their superhero names in this movie.
I could have sworn, what's his face?
Tony only called her a witch during his fight with
No, I'm pretty sure that's wrong, because in one of the first scenes, the what's his name, Strucker?
They say twins. I'm
pretty sure he calls her Scarlet Witch at one point.
No, they always said the twins. The twins aren't ready. They always say either said twins or the enhanced or their full names, but never... I
could have sworn there was, like, at least one point each where they were referred to as...
Because Quicksilver didn't have his name yet. Neither did Scarlet Witch.
I don't know.
She gets the name Scarlet Witch because she always wears scarlet coloring.
There's a shot where they're blasting Ultron that I thought was really cool. Again, I'm talking about Wanda's accent, especially at the end. Her accent is super inconsistent.
Yeah.
It, like, really leans hard into the Eastern European.
Yeah.
But, like, the scenes, like, right before it that she was in, it sounds very American, if not British.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know, it was really distracting. Bruce, the whole kind of disappears He's not dead, right? He's in Thor Ragnarok.
I'm not answering.
He's in Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, but other than that, I'm not answering anything.
And then my last note is about the end credit scene.
So, we actually finally see the real gauntlet, which you will learn more of where it was made in Infinity War.
Mm-hmm. Overall, what are your thoughts about this movie?
Kind of like what I said at the beginning. I always see it as an exposition.
Okay. I'm gonna say that it's almost like a filler movie, and filler sounds bad. I don't mean it to sound bad. It absolutely could not stand on its own. Like, if you watch absolutely none of the other movies, the first Avengers, you could go in completely blind. Mm-hmm. This one, I don't think you could.
No. Yeah, you're not wrong.
So kind of going into some fun facts, James Spader used his natural speaking voice for Ultron. The voice was then processed to give it more metallic, machine-like quality.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really interesting. And this quote by Joss Whedon really resonated with me after watching this movie. He said, he described this film as smaller, more personal, more painful. Mm-hmm. The next thing that should happen to these characters, and not just a rehash of what worked the first time. A theme that is completely fresh and organic to itself. Which I thought was really interesting. Because I think that that's exactly what this movie, as bombastic as I thought it was, it fleshed out each person's vulnerabilities very well.
The visual effects team based Ultron's main body on a Swiss watch. He is the perfect robot, elegant, beautiful, and sophisticated.
A lot of the music was done by Danny Elfman, who did Nightmare Before Christmas. Saoirse Ronan was considered to play Wanda. If you don't know who Saoirse Ronan is, Matthew didn't know. You would know her if you saw her, I feel like.
Okay.
I know her from Lady Bird and the remake of Little Women. She plays Jo in the... I know it's, like, wildly hated, that movie, in the fandom.
Yeah.
That's not really a fandom, but you know what I mean. But she's also in, like, a bunch of other stuff that I cannot place right now off the top of my head. But, like, she's Irish. She's awesome.
Okay.
But I just can't see her as this role. I think Elizabeth Olsen plays Scarlet Witch so well that despite her inconsistent accent, I can't see anyone else doing it. I would just have a really hard time envisioning Saoirse.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like Saoirse is slightly too young. Like, Saoirse's, like, our age. And this was, like, 2015. So this was, like, we were, like, 20.
Imogen and Isabella
Payton
both one plays Cliff Barnes' daughter, Lila Barnes, and the other plays John C. Reilly's character, his daughter.
In Guardians?
Yep.
Yeah, there's not a ton of fun facts about this movie, but, like, overall, what are your feelings towards this movie? Did you like it? Did you not like it?
I like it.
Does it rank in your top so far?
For me, just because I've seen most of them, I say this one is more at the bottom just because I'm not a huge fan of the villain.
So I thought Ultron was pretty compelling.
Yeah. Because Ultron is a good villain, but there's ones that I like more that are coming up.
Okay. Fair. I mean, from where we are right now, forget everything that's coming. Where does it stack right now so far?
Middle.
Okay. Because for me, like, I said this at the beginning, but I like this and the first Avengers pretty much equally, but for different reasons.
Yeah.
I think that they are such different movies, it's hard to compare them. Yeah, let us know what you guys think of Age of Ultron, either on the Instagram post when this episode goes live, or on the Reddit, on the subreddit.
Yeah.
We'd love to discuss anything that we discussed today with you guys. We'd love to hear your opinions. So next episode will be on Matthew's favorite, which is Ant-Man.
Yeah.
He's been looking forward to it the entire time, to the point where he has been wanting to skip movies just so we can get to it faster.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that. We'll be back next week, and we hope y'all have a good week.
Bye.
Bye.
If you would like to send us any feedback, you can follow us on Instagram at thefanclub_podcast or Twitter at fanclub_podcast. You can also discuss each episode with us on our subreddit, which is reddit.com/r/thefanclubpodcast. And make sure you tune in every Marvel Monday.